After a student commits suicide at the school, nothing will ever be the same. Is it worth watching? Find out when I take a look at To Save a Life on this week's Indy Christian Review. First off, I want to thank tjsrental.com for sponsoring this week's episode. If you're a Christian filmmaker looking for an affordable Red Scarlet package to rent, visit tjsrental.com. Now, on to the review. Now, I want to start this one off with a parental discretion warning. To Save a Life is rated PG-13 and for good reason. It's tasteful, but it does deal with mature themes and has some bad language, so parents be warned. But that said, this does have a really good story. The movie's about Jake Taylor, a high school basketball star whose perfect world is rocked when his childhood best friend Roger commits suicide at school. Chris, the youth pastor that performed Roger's funeral, invites Jake to church and makes himself available to talk if Jake so chooses. At first, Jake brushes him off. He's the most popular kid in school, and he's too busy getting hammered at parties to take Chris's offer. Until his girlfriend Amy steals his truck to avoid the police after a particularly rowdy party. With no other option, Jake calls Chris, asking him to pick him up and take him home. They talk a bit about Roger, expressing how they both feel like they failed him. Chris invites Jake to church again, and after a less than warm greeting from his less than attentive parents, he decides to go. It's through his interactions with Chris, who's a very genuine and sincere believer, that Jake finally comes to accept Christ. I like how Paul Isaiah plugged in described Jake's story as being more about discipleship than conversion. Because it is. The story's focus isn't on getting their main character to accept Christ, which is usually the end goal of most Christian movies. Its focus is on getting him to not accept typical Christianity once he does get converted. Now, I want to show you my favorite scene from the movie because it perfectly illustrates this.
I want to take 30 seconds right now, 30 seconds of silence, and I want you to ask yourself the question, who have I judged?
Hey, did you see the game on Sunday? Man.
She was not texting me.
Did you see that guy there? I saw him yesterday. Yes, I think they're friends. I don't know. I've never seen him before.
Did any of you hear what he just said? My girlfriend came here today, and she left because she felt judged. And no one even noticed. Roger walked into school and started shooting. I knew him. He wasn't crazy. And did anyone ever stop and ask why? I mean, how did it get to the point where his only option was to shoot himself? There are people killing themselves, and you're chugging soda through a sock. I mean, what's the point of all this if you're not going to let this change you?
Now, all the other storylines really hinge around this moment. I think this movie's biggest success is how it shows just how damaging apathy in the church can be, whether it's from teens or adults. Yes, we could argue about the appropriateness of this kind of content in a Christian movie, but I think that would be taking away from the point of the whole movie. Are we content to just play our little games and fight amongst ourselves in church politics? Or are we going to actually do something to show the love of Jesus to people who desperately need it? Lives very well hang in the balance. You can find out more about To Save a Life at tosavealifemovie.com. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you for watching. I'm Zack Lawrence. May God bless you, and may God bless independent Christian films.
Hello, this is Laura.
Laura Seabrook.
Yes. Who's speaking?
I understand you got to wear a certain plaid fedora recently.
A plaid fedora. Oh, you mean Zach's hat?
Yes. When you wore it, did you feel powerful?
Well, I suppose. Who is this? Hello? Hello? Weird.
Hello, you've reached Zack Lawrence. Sorry I missed your call. Please leave a message and I'll call you back as soon as I can.
Hey Zach, it's Laura Seabrook. Hey, I just got a really weird phone call asking about when I borrowed your hat while we were filming In His Steps. Do you know anything about it? It's kind of creeping me out, so if you could maybe call me back as soon as possible, that'd be great. Okay, thanks. Bye.